Hey everyone, welcome to my 20 favorite horror movies. I was inspired to do this by The Horror Man, which I'll leave a link in the description below. A while back, he had done his top 20 favorite horror movies. He had done his top 20 favorite horror movies, and he said he would like to see mine sometime. So I thought I would go ahead and do my top 20. And if this video inspires you to do yours, go ahead and post it in the comments below. So to start things off, and a movie I haven't seen in a while is the movie Gargoyles. They're coming for you. It's from award-winning horror classic. Well, it's the award-winning horror classic. It stars Cornell Wilde, Jennifer Salt, and Bernie Casey. And I remember this movie playing on TBS a lot, especially like on Thanksgiving for whatever reason. It just always stuck out in my head because of the gargoyle effects, especially the main one. His makeup was the best. And let's see, because I forgot who did the makeup in this. Oh, Milt Rice and George Peckham. I thought it was someone else, but I guess not. But this always stuck out because I just like the effects, and they also did that slow mo movement, like in let's see, I know, shoot, I know they did it in Blackula, and they also did it in The Midnight Hour. But this was always a cool movie, and I would always watch it on TBS. So it's more, I guess it would be more of a nostalgic type pick, but it's still a fun flick. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Next up is Psychomania, and I chose this because my dad had bought a VHS of this, and we've watched it together. And basically, what it's about is like this motorcycle gang. Like the leader, he was like really big into witchcraft or Satanism or whatever, and he was given the ability or whatever. If you commit suicide, you're able to come back and you can't be killed. So the interesting thing about this movie is seeing how everybody commits suicide to come back, but you gotta believe that you come back. If you don't, then you stay dead. And it's just really interesting seeing how everyone commits suicide to come back. It's a really oddball movie, but it's really cool too, and I like their helmets. And it's from 1973. Next up is sort of a newer movie, and it's The Loved Ones. I really love this movie, and I really liked her. She did a kick-ass job in the movie, playing as a psychopathic bitch, basically. And what it basically is like, I guess she's sort of considered nerdy in high school, and she asked a guy out on prom, but, he wouldn't go out with her or whatever, and, both her and her dad kidnapped the guy, and they tortured the shit out of the guy, and that's her dad. Both of them did an excellent job, and I think this is a movie from, like, Australia or something, but this movie is freaking awesome. And that's The Loved Ones. Next up, I remember renting this a lot, like when I was in high school or whatever, and that is Dr. Giggles. Yeah, I think Drake, I forgot his first name, but he did an excellent job as playing as a psychotic, doctor, because I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it. It's like where, when he was younger, he witnessed his dad getting killed, so it fucked him up in the head, and, he escapes the mental asylum and, does like all these, messed up things to people. And it has the one girl from Charmed in it. So that is Dr. Giggles. So let's see. So this is number 17, 16, 15. No, shit. Damn, I can't count. So let's see. That's 20, 19, 18, and 17. I think that's how the oh well. And number 16, Tenebrae from Dario Argento. I know a lot of people's favorite is Suspiria, but Tenebrae is definitely my favorite. I mean, I know Dario Argento is mostly known for style over substance, but man, talk about a hell of a style and a hell of an eye. I mean, and the music that he chooses, like there's one scene where you continuously see like the camera panning up through the windows and stuff like that, and the music that plays is really fantastic. And then like when the killer is in the house and she's like putting on a shirt and the shirt gets torn by the razor, I mean, that is just an amazing scene. This is the Era edition, and I also have the Synapse edition. And I mean, and the weird thing is, a long time ago when I was younger, I used to not care that much for Italian horror, but as I got older, I definitely found more appreciation for Italian horror, especially like Dario Argento and Tenebrae. It's an excellent flick. Then next up, Night of the Demons. Definitely one of my favorite flicks growing up. About like where these teens, they go to this closed down parlor, to party on Halloween, and they accidentally release a demon, and it starts to possess the people there, and the survivors, they have to basically survive till the sun comes up. And, the scary thing about it is they're almost like invincible. There's really no way of killing them. But, everybody did a fantastic job in this movie. I like Amelia Kincaid. Of course, Linnea Quigley. It's just an all-around excellent movie. So that is Night of the Demons. Then next up, one of my favorite non-Romero zombie flick is The Return of the Living Dead. I also have the Scream Factory edition, and everybody knows what this movie is about. I mean, it's one of my favorite flicks, and hell, they're almost invincible themselves. I mean, you have to completely destroy the body in order to kill them. And plus, too, they can talk to you, they can run. I mean, I like the dark humor to this. I mean, it's an all-around excellent flick. So that is The Return of the Living Dead. And then my favorite of the Evil Dead series is Army of Darkness. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the original. I love the second one, but this is my favorite. This is where, to me, where Bruce Campbell really got comfortable with the role. And, I like the slapstick humor. I like, him being a smart ass. Because the thing I like about Ash is he's a coward towards living people, but when it comes to the Evil Dead, he's just a straight up badass. And that's, basically one of the things I liked about this. And this is an edition from Scream Factory. Comes with quite a few bonus features. But yeah, that's Army of Darkness. Next up, John Carpenter's classic, The Thing. I really love this movie because, what I like about it is, you have kick-ass effects, you have kick-ass music, great gore effects. You watch it in, it could be hot outside, but you could be cold as hell because, you just feel the cold, the isolation, not being able to trust anyone. I mean, it's just an overall amazing movie. This is the Scream Factory edition, and I also have the Arrow Steelbook in the thicker case thing, limited edition, whatever. But it's an excellent flick and probably a movie that I keep, buying over and over again. And then next up, one of my favorite werewolf movies, Silver Bullet. It has a very young Corey Haim in it, Gary Busey. And I like that guy that plays as the preacher and the werewolf. And I really like that church scene where everyone starts to wolf out. And basically what it's about is where Corey Haim's character, he's stuck in a wheelchair, and his uncle is really cool because his uncle created this wheelchair that's almost like a motorcycle. And he's setting off some fireworks by himself, and he gets attacked by the werewolf. And he shoots a ball rocket into its eye, and it runs off. So, he basically tries to tell people, of course, they don't believe him. His sister, sort of believes him because, she's not used to seeing him act that way or whatever. So while she's going around collecting, I think it's cans or something like that, she's trying to look for people missing an eye. And that's how she would know if he's telling the truth or not. I mean, it's just an excellent movie. And this movie is put out, this edition is put out by Umbrella, and it comes with a ton of bonus features. I mean, the media book that I got isn't worth 2 cents because the picture quality sucked. But this Blu-ray is pretty damn good. So that is Stephen King's Silver Bullet. Next up, one of my favorites is The Monster Squad. What do I like about this? Come on, The Goonies meets the Universal Monsters. What else can you say? I mean, it's just one of my favorites growing up. And I heard that they're doing like a remake, and I hope they don't screw it up. But I really love this movie. It's really cool. I mean, Wolfman's got nards. I mean, there's a lot of memorable lines in this movie. And it's just overall fun. And let's see. Yeah, and it's directed by Fred Decker. I really like Fred Decker's movies. I love this. I love Night of the Creeps, which I would have put this in the list, but I couldn't find it. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was going to put in I couldn't find, but this is what, I put together so that way I can do a list. And then next up, which is probably a lot of people's favorites, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I remember watching this when I was a kid, and I would sneak to watch it. And what I like about this, and I think it having a lower budget really helped this because it gave it that more realistic look to it. Because it almost looks like it's actually happening and you're watching it happen. And I like the fact that, Toby Hooper shows that you don't have to have a ton of blood and guts and stuff like that, even though certain parts in this movie makes you think you see all that stuff, but you don't. It's just a really, really well-made horror movie. I mean, this is my favorite scene here where he hits that dude upside the head with a fucking mallet, and you see the dude shaking on the ground. Oh, and of course the dinner scene. It's an amazing movie, and this is a heck of a edition. I haven't opened it up yet, of course, but that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, I had to have it in this video. And then next up, one of my favorites, Reanimate. I really love this movie, and Herbert West. I mean, it's such a crazy movie. So I would talk more about these movies, but I don't want the video to be super long. But that's Reanimator. Definitely one of my favorites. And I also liked Reanimator 2, even though I heard some people say that they don't care for part 2. But I enjoyed part 2. It had more blood and stuff to it. But this is a fun flick. And it's pretty cool that they had Arnold's body double in this. I mean, he was a big ass, like, zombie dude. And then next up, Demons. I really like this movie. It is really, really awesome. And probably my favorite scene in the movie is where the guy's on a motorcycle and he's like hitting them with a samurai sword or whatever. I mean, it's just a crazy ass movie, but it's really fun. I mean, it has the blood, gore. It's a really cool movie. The first one to me is the better one, but both of them are fun. And then next up, one of my favorite Tales from the Crypt movies, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. I remember going to the theater to watch this, and I freaking loved it. I know it bombed in the box office, which is a shame because I thought it was a really fun movie. And at one time they was talking about doing like a sequel, but it didn't do good enough in it. But Billy Zane was awesome in it. I liked a lot of the lines that he had. I thought Jada Pinkett Smith, I thought she was cool in the movie. And actually, I thought she looked hotter then than she does now. She's too skinny now for me. And then next up is one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies, The Hidden. And this is part of the archive collection. It's too bad that they didn't give this a proper release. I wish Scream Factory or Arrow Video would have picked this up. I mean, just like the car scenes and the body jumping, it's really crazy. I mean, like, before I got this, the last time I saw it was like in the 80s when I was a kid. So I'm glad that they definitely put it out on Blu-ray. So that is The Hidden. And then next up, of course, I gotta have a Friday the 13th in this countdown. And my favorite movie is part 6. Because it's the first time you get to see a zombie Jason. It has really cool humor to it. It has a ton of cool deaths. And there's lot of action, like car chases and stuff like that. But my favorite look of Jason is part 7, because I like that, more decayed looking Jason, and, the look of the Hawk, and, of course, Kane Hodder, the way that he dispatches a lot of people. You know, Friday the 13th series, I love them all, to be honest, but part 6 is probably the one that I would watch the most. And of course, I love part 4. I know some people hate part 5, but I enjoyed part 5. To me, it would have been better for part 5 if, like, the real Jason showed up and killed the fake Jason. I don't know. I guess I'm sort of into cheesy stuff like that, but I really enjoyed the Friday the 13th series, and I think Paramount is stupid as hell thinking that they can't make any money off of Friday the 13th. I mean, come on. As much money as you've made off of the series, and you think that you can't make money off of Jason fucking Voorhees? Yeah, right. And then next up is probably one of the movies that got me hooked on vampire movies, because vampire movies are probably one of my favorite monster type movies, and that is Fright Night. So this is number 3 on the list. It stars Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, and Amanda Bears. And let's see, William Ragsdale. And and you can't forget Stephen Jeffries. And it's directed by Tom Holland. And the visual effects by Richard Edlund. And music by Brad Fiedel. But this is probably one of my favorite vampire flicks of all time, and I remember my dad buying me the VHS of this, and we've watched it together, so that's probably why it sticks out in my mind the most. But I think it's pretty cool. It's basically a movie where a teen, while watching horror movies, he looks out the window and sees a coffin being put, into his neighbor's cellar or whatever. And he thinks that his neighbor is a vampire. And of course, eventually finds out that his neighbor is a vampire. And, everybody doesn't believe him. And they have to get Roddy McDowall's character to come and do his tests and stuff like that, and eventually he finds out that he is a legit vampire, and so they got to try to save Brewster's girlfriend and his friends from the vampire. I mean, it's an awesome movie, and the visual effects for the time was excellent. I mean, they got some of the top people at the time to do the visual effects, matte paintings, everything. So it's an all-around excellent movie. And then next up, number 2, Dawn of the Dead. Of course, the George Romero classic, and probably the movie that got me hooked on zombie films. Because, I mean, I love the gore, I love the social commentary. I mean, it's just an overall well-made zombie flick, but, it's not just a zombie flick, it's just a well-made movie altogether, from the music, set design, makeup, I mean, everything. And it's inspired a lot of movies. George Romero, to me, was ahead of his time. But that is Dawn of the Dead. Definitely love this movie. And then number 1 for me. Now, with this, even though I have part 1 here, my favorite is actually part 3. I couldn't find my box set, but just so in that way you have a visual aid. and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street. So my favorite is part 3. And, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the original classic, of course. Um, but what I like about part 3 is the fact that you actually got to see what the possible victims can do in their dreams. Like, you know, you have Kincaid, who dreams about being a strong man. You have Joey, who dreams that he can speak and, you know, scream really loud like a banshee. Let's see. You also have a kid who dreams that he's the wizard master. Taryn, who dreams that she's like cool and bad. You know, she has that big ass mohawk and switchblade. And Kristen, who, you know, dreams that she can do like all these gymnastics, whatever. Um, and plus, too, what I like about Freddy and what makes him scary is the fact that, number one, he builds his own killing weapon, which is, of course, his glove, and also, too, the fact that he invades your dreams, so he knows everything that scares you, and he knows your deepest, darkest secrets, and to me, that's what makes him scary. So that is my top 20. And I also have some honorable mentions, since this is 20 and not 23. So, Phantasm, of course, one of my favorites. Night of the Comet. And even though this is a little bit more on the comedy side than horror, Little Shop of Horrors. Man, I love this movie. It's really, really good. Rick Moranis was great. John Candy, Steve Martin. It's just an overall fun flick. So that was my top 20 favorite horror movies. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it inspires you to do your own top 20, go ahead and do your top 20 and post it in the comments, you know. So I want to thank y'all for watching this video, and y'all have a great one, and I'll see y'all later.